An Apache warrior arrived with his dying baby, asking for milk, but when that young mestiza woman breastfed him, she never imagined she would become the mother he needed and the love that would change two worlds. In the arid mountains of Chihuahua, where the wind carried stories of pain and hope, lived Paloma Herrera, a 23-year-old young woman whose mixed blood had made her a stranger in her own land. Her brown skin shone like copper under the desert sun, and her black eyes held the sadness of someone who had lost more than a heart could bear. The log cabin where she lived had belonged to her grandmother, Esperanza, an Apache healer who had raised Paloma after her parents died in an epidemic. Esperanza had taught her the secrets of medicinal plants, prayers in the Apache language, and above all, the value of boundless compassion. Now, with her grandmother buried under the mesquite tree in the yard, Paloma faced the rejection of the town of San Miguel del Valle alone. The townswomen would whisper when she went down to buy supplies. "There goes the crazy Indian," they would say, pulling their children away as if she were contagious. "They say she talks to spirits and that her milk is..." Paloma had learned to walk with her head held high, but every word was a wound added to the deepest one, the loss of her own baby 3 months prior. Little Joaquin had been born without a known father, the result of a night of violence Paloma preferred to forget. But during the 6 months he lived, that child had been her reason for being. When the fever took him, Paloma felt as if her soul had been torn out. Her body continued to produce milk, reminding her every day of what she had lost. It was an October afternoon when destiny knocked on her door. Paloma was gathering medicinal herbs when she heard the steps of an approaching horse. Looking up, she saw a tall, strong man mounted on a black Mustang. His tanned skin gleamed under the sun, and his loose black hair fell to his shoulders. He wore leather pants and a cotton shirt, but what caught Paloma's attention most was the bundle he carried wrapped against his chest. The man watched her for a long moment, and Paloma noticed that his eyes showed a desperation she recognized all too well. Slowly, the warrior dismounted and approached her. Without a word, he unwrapped the bundle and showed her a baby of a few months, pale and breathing with difficulty. "Milk," he said in Spanish with a thick accent, pointing to the child and then to her. "My son needs milk." Paloma felt her heart stop. The baby had dry lips and sunken eyes, clear signs of severe dehydration. Without a second thought, she extended her arms and took the little one. He was so light it seemed he could break with a sudden movement. "He's very sick," Paloma murmured, examining the baby with the wisdom her grandmother had taught her. "How long has it been since he's eaten?" The man looked at her, not fully understanding, but the urgency in his eyes was universal. Paloma invited him into the cabin, where a warm fire was burning in the hearth. With gestures, she indicated for him to sit while she examined the baby more closely. "Anna," the man said, pointing to himself. Then he touched the baby's forehead. "Itzel, my son." "Itzel," Paloma nodded and pointed to herself. "Paloma." Then, with the baby in her arms, she went to the rocking chair by the fire. The maternal instinct she thought she had lost awakened with overwhelming force. Without further delay, she settled the child against her breast and began to nurse him. Anna watched her with a mixture of gratitude and amazement. His eyes, which moments before had shown desperation, now shone with an emotion he couldn't express in words. Itzel clung to Paloma with the strength of someone finding salvation in their darkest moment. For the next hour, Paloma fed the baby while Anna sat in silence, watching her every move. When Itzel finally fell asleep, satisfied and calm, Paloma felt a peace she hadn't experienced in months. "Thank you," Anna murmured in Spanish, and then added something in Apache that Paloma understood perfectly, thanks to her grandmother's teachings. "You have saved my son." Paloma handed the baby back, wrapped in a clean blanket. "He needs to eat every few hours," she explained with gestures and the few Apache words she remembered. "He is very weak. His mother." Anna lowered his head. "Dead," he said simply. "War. Soldiers." Paloma's heart constricted. She knew all too well the pain of losing the one you love most. Without thinking, she gently touched Anna's hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered. When Anna prepared to leave, Paloma made a decision that would change her life forever. "Come back tomorrow," she told him, gesturing so he would understand. "Itzel needs milk." "I have milk." Anna looked at her with an intensity that made her tremble. He nodded slowly and mounted his horse. Before leaving, he brought his hand to his heart and then extended it toward her, an Apache gesture of respect and gratitude. That night, Paloma couldn't sleep. For the first time in months, she felt useful, needed. She had found a purpose in her pain, a way to turn her loss into salvation for another helpless being. At dawn, when she saw Anna's silhouette approaching again with Itzel in his arms, she knew that destiny had put this family on her path for a reason. What she didn't know was that her act of compassion would unleash a storm that would test not only her courage but also her capacity for boundless love. The town of San Miguel del Valle would soon learn that Paloma Herrera was nursing the son of an Apache, and the fury of those who did not understand true love would rise like a storm, ready to destroy everything that had begun to heal. The following days settled into a sacred routine for Paloma. Every morning, shortly after dawn, Anna would appear with little Itzel in his arms. The baby had begun to regain color in his cheeks, and his dark eyes showed a liveliness he didn't have when he first arrived. Paloma felt as if her broken heart was beginning to mend each time she fed the child. Anna didn't talk much, but his presence filled the cabin with an energy Paloma had forgotten existed. He watched as she cared for Itzel with a devotion that transcended words. Sometimes, when the baby slept after feeding, Anna and Paloma would sit together in silence, communicating with simple looks and gestures that said more than 1,000 words. One afternoon, as Paloma rocked Itzel to sleep, Anna began to speak to her in Apache. Although she didn't understand all the words, Paloma recognized the tone of gratitude and something deeper that she dared not identify. Their eyes met over the baby's head, and for a moment, the world stood still. "You are a good mother," Anna told her in broken Spanish, and the words reached Paloma's heart like a healing balm. But the peace of those moments could not last forever. The town of San Miguel del Valle was small, and secrets were not kept for long. It was Remedios, the laundress, who first saw Anna leaving Paloma's cabin early one morning. Her eyes widened as she recognized the unmistakable figure of an Apache warrior. By noon, the whole town was talking about Paloma's betrayal. The men gathered at the cantina of Don Ramiro Vasquez, a prosperous man who had proclaimed himself the town's moral leader. Ramiro was a middle-aged man with a thick mustache and small eyes that glinted with cruelty when he spoke of maintaining the purity of the race. "That crazy Indian is feeding a savage's pup," Ramiro said, slamming his fist on the table. "What's next?" "Inviting the whole tribe to settle in our town." The other men nodded in outrage. To them, the Apaches were nothing more than dangerous animals to be eliminated. The idea that a woman from their own town would help one of them was unforgivable. "We have to do something before it's too late," muttered Esteban, the blacksmith. "My wife says she sees the Apache every morning. He's probably spying on our defenses." But not everyone in town shared that opinion. Father Joaquin, an elderly priest who had arrived in town years ago, had heard the rumors with growing concern. He had known Paloma since she was a child and knew her heart was pure. One afternoon, he decided to visit her to find out the truth for himself. When he arrived at the cabin, he found Paloma sitting on the porch, breastfeeding Itzel while Anna carved a small wooden toy. The scene had a serenity that reminded him of sacred paintings of the Holy Family. "Good afternoon, my child," said Father Joaquin with his warm voice. Paloma looked up, surprised but not frightened. "Father, what an honor to have you here." Anna immediately stood up, his hand instinctively moving toward the knife at his belt, but Paloma gave him a reassuring signal. "He is a friend," she told him in Apache. "A holy man." Father Joaquin observed the interaction with interest. "I see you have found a new family, Paloma." "I found a purpose, Father," she replied, adjusting the baby in her arms. "This child needed a mother, and I needed a son. God put them in my path." The priest approached slowly, and Anna watched him cautiously but without hostility. "May I see the little one?" Paloma nodded, and Father Joaquin gazed at Itzel's serene face. "He is beautiful," he murmured. "Children are always blessings from God, no matter where they come from." Those words became the first ray of hope in the gathering storm. Father Joaquin stayed for another hour, talking with Paloma and trying to communicate with Anna through gestures and the few Apache words he had learned during his years of ministry. As he prepared to leave, he took Paloma's hands in his. "Child, I know there are those who do not understand what you are doing, but I see the love of Christ in your actions. Take care of this family that God has placed in your heart." That night, after Anna left for his hidden camp in the mountains, Paloma felt a new determination coursing through her veins. She knew she would face opposition, but she also knew that what she was doing was right. Her fears were confirmed 2 days later when a group of men from the town, led by Ramiro Vasquez, arrived at her cabin at dusk. Paloma was preparing dinner when she heard the hooves of several approaching horses. Her heart quickened as she saw the hard expressions on their faces. "Paloma Herrera!" Ramiro shouted before dismounting. "We need to talk to you." Paloma came out onto the porch, maintaining her composure despite the fear she felt. "What do you want, gentlemen?" "We know what you've been doing," said Esteban, spitting on the ground. "Feeding the pup of a savage, betraying your own people." "That baby is innocent," Paloma replied firmly. "He just needed milk to live." "The Apaches are our enemies," roared Ramiro. "They killed my brother last year in a raid, and you feed their young so they can grow up and kill us later." Paloma felt the injustice of his words like a slap. "Itzel is just a baby. He can't harm anyone." "But he will grow up," threatened Ramiro, stepping dangerously close. "And when he's grown, he will remember that a woman from San Miguel del Valle helped him. He will come for us." "If he comes," Paloma said with a courage she didn't know she possessed, "it will be to give thanks, not for revenge. Love creates love, Señor Vasquez. Only hatred creates hatred." The men exchanged looks of disbelief. To them, the idea that an Apache could feel gratitude was absurd. "We give you 3 days," Ramiro declared finally. 3 days to stop feeding that creature and tell his father not to come back here. Otherwise, we will take more drastic measures. After they left, Paloma trembled for several minutes, but when she calmed down, her resolve was stronger than ever. She had found a family in Anna and Itzel, and she would not abandon them for the threats of men filled with hatred. That night, when Anna arrived for Itzel's nightly feeding, Paloma told him what had happened. She saw the warrior